What's up, guys? Jason Guyman here, and tonight I want to talk a little bit about what we need to do and not do at this time of the year. I've seen some people be like, well, it must not be me. I need to figure out what I do next year. And then it's like, no, this is the week that we need to make sure that we are answering the phone. We're getting these quotes out quick. And I know that sometimes we feel like we are ran over by a train and we want to be done with Christmas lights. But let's just say we have one more week, probably two, usually December 5th through the December 10th. And there's a lot of chaos going on right now, right? We got Thanksgiving tomorrow, which you should be hopefully that you're very grateful and very thankful. And this is something that we need to be thankful for, of what we have: good health. We didn't fall off the ladder. We had great customers. And this is what it's all about, right? We need to be thankful. In fact, you need to be thankful more than just one day out of the year. You need to be thankful every day and have a thankful gratitude journal. Would help you out a bunch, because there's a lot of things that we can be thankful for. And so tonight, I just want to hit on some things of what do we need to do at this point in time, right? Where do we need to be at? Do we need to slow down? No. And the answer is no, no, no. Keep keep the foot on the gas. So it is Wednesday night. It is the night before Thanksgiving, and it is awesome. This has been an awesome year. I know a lot of people have been doing very well. I know some people that just started and doing very well, and it's exciting to see people growing their businesses. And I haven't seen too many good Christmas hats out there as you're installing. And that's part of the experience, right? People are like, well, I don't want to wear that. That looks goofy. Well, it might look goofy, but we are providing an experience. We're not there to be a model show, right? And so it's important that we make sure that we are being what we need to do to get this year finished up. Again, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and so I'll kind of give a little bit about where we are in this year and what I believe to see for next year, and what you may need to do and start looking at. We can talk a little bit about takedowns and start thinking and planning on takedowns. And the other thing I would say too is start your journal. Start your journal of what do you need to do better for next year? Because when it's in the thick of it, I understand sometimes that it can be tough and we may not have ordered enough stuff. Maybe we ordered the wrong stuff. Maybe the suppliers have ran out of stuff and now you don't have stuff. And so these are all concerns when we're getting at the end of the year that we need to start considering and start thinking about for our Christmas light business. And so again, that's what I did on Monday. I had one of my guys that needed some wreaths, and we went and I told him I can bring them to him, and I drove halfway across the country and I took him wreaths. And so he had about 100 wreaths that he needed that nobody could supply, and I was able to get them to him, and I was able to take them to him so he could have the wreaths. And yes, this here has been an issue this year, the weather. And so there's just some things that we cannot control. And it's how do we handle that, right? And luckily in Kansas, you're probably only getting rain and snow, or rain and wind. But I got a picture from South Dakota and they got about yay much foot of snowish. So it's kind of hard to install Christmas lights when there's about yay much snow on these roofs. So these are all things that we need to think about and consider when we are talking about dealing with Christmas lights. And yes, tonight I'm standing up because I felt like it was a stand-up type of night. I've got another thing that I know I've been getting lots of emails and texts about, like, where's my supplies? I only have half of it. And as I did a video a couple days ago, is that I have no reason, no why that FedEx and UPS, not one or the other, but both, we ship them all the same day. When you order from us, it goes out the exact same day that you order from us. And so I don't know why that UPS and FedEx is only getting half of it to you, or 3 boxes out of 5 boxes. So it is something that you have to think about when we are dealing with this also. So that's where we're at tonight. My book of the week. I've been burning up this book of the week a lot because I've actually been doing a study on it myself, and I've learned it, and it's kind of kicked me in the butt several times. Last night I was headed home and I let my mind drift into a negative thought, and when it did, today we actually had our book study of Think and Grow Rich and Over Imagination. One of the things that in the past I have struggled with is imagination. And so when we were talking about it today, it was talking about keeping negative thoughts out of your brain and keeping positive thoughts into it. So that way you don't go down that path of, thinking, well, I can't close jobs. I can't do this. I can't do that. So that's what I did this week. What did you all do before we get started here? Had lots of leads and closed deals the last several weeks. I put almost all my yard signs this season, but very few leads last 5 days. Anyone else seeing a slowdown over the last week? And I've seen people that have had slowdowns, and I've had people that said I've gotten 100 leads in a day. And so it's all about kind of, I know some people are getting leads and they're not even taking action on it, right? I know some people that are overwhelmed. I know some people that are not getting out their quotes like they should be, right? And so it is important that we do this. It is important that we make sure that we don't let off the gas. I've been pushing this a lot here lately because I feel like as Google and as the internet, as we know it, right? As we know the search engines, as we know what Google is, right? We always knew what Google was. We knew where Google was. We knew what Google was doing. Google is changing, right? It's going to get really interesting on how Google changes from where we go from where we actually search to where it's going to be the AIs, where the AI is going to be doing the searching and stuff like this. And as we move forward, in pressure washing and Christmas lights, we've always done well with Google ads. In pressure washing, we did well with Google Guarantee, right? We've done good with Google Guarantee. We did good with Google, but it's going to be interesting to see how Christmas lights and pressure washing are going to be moving forward. How are they going to be moving forward when we are dealing with Google? Because Google is changing so much. Now, I know some people will tell me that, Jason, it's all about the referrals, right? You got to have referrals. You got to have referrals. And I agree, referrals can definitely grow both businesses. But in the end, it's going to be interesting to see how things move forward as we keep pushing through Christmas lights and start back up into the pressure washing season next year. So that's some things that with leads, this is why I think that if you've watched Gary Vee much, he talks a lot about personal branding. I think that personal branding is going to be huge in the future. I've already seen it in the Christmas lights and pressure washing world. I have got a great friend, Bobby Duncan, and Bobby Duncan posts 8 to 10 times a day on his Facebook. And when he posts 8 to 10 times, he's getting traction and he's keeping his calendar full. And he has grown his little old pressure washing business to a $500 to $750,000 a year off of all organic, non-paid stuff, right? He's done it all through Google. He's done it all through, he's done it all through Facebook, and then he does his Google ads through that. So those are some things that is going to take place as we are moving forward, I believe, in the future. And I know a lot of people that struggle with getting on lives, doing their Facebook. You know, I look at people's websites and I'm like, where's the person at? Because we know that people love to buy from other people. We know that for a fact. We know that people buy from who they know, like, and trust. And if they don't know, like, and trust you, then they're not going to buy from you. So that are some things that we know that it is. So with Christmas lights, again, one of the things is if you are ordering your supplies, christmaslights.io, make sure you are buying the right stuff. We've had quite a few returns here recently because we bought minis that were supposed to be regular plug and they were coaxial. We bought the wrong kit, we bought the wrong color, and so these are all things that we need to make sure when we're ordering our Christmas lights. And one of the things that I see a lot, and it is a little confusing, and it's all the different colors, right? You have warm white, sun warm white, you have cool white, you have pure white, you have winter sun warm, you have whatever, right? You have 15 different colors of warm white. And the way they decide what color is what is through that number on the side of when you see that order. So it'll say warm white, it'll say 2600 to 2800 or 2800 to 3000. And that is measured in kelvins. And so if you, and I see this happen a lot, it's been happening a lot in the pure white and warm white, or pure white and cool white. So if you buy the minis and they say 6,000, make sure, don't just go off of pure white, pure white. There is like a pure white and a pure white one. Make sure that you're getting the right pure whites so that way they match when you are up on the house, because those are some important things as we're dealing with our Christmas lights, when we're dealing with Christmas lights. So just remember that as you are looking at the sources, make sure that you are looking at the lights to make sure that you are getting the right color, because we don't want you to have to return it because after tomorrow there will be no more returns for them. So that's how we put it in our writing of when you order from us, and that's how everybody puts it in the writing, so that way you're not returning a bunch of stuff. So that is good. I have slowed down on closing, lots of leads, but none too great. Staying true on my price. Everyone else have added at $4 a foot. You know, and you know, as we start growing, the more we worry about our competitors and what their pricing is, the better off you are. You know, I've got friends all over the country, and I've got a couple friends in an area that they will tell you that you can't get that in my area. But yet they are so booked, they can't get all of the jobs up. And it's like, if you would have raised your prices to $2 more a foot and get it up to $8, $9 a foot, yes, you would have made less customers, but you would have made more money, because there's customers that you're charging $6 a foot that would pay $8 to $10 a foot. Right? And so there's customers out there that would be willing to pay more if you would charge more. But so many people are so worried about what they're charging. This is the problem that you run into. And so that's what we're looking at. Did 700 yard signs, website, Google profile, 160 calls, received 11 installs, Chicago suburbs, charging $8 to $9 a foot, was expecting 30 to 40 installs first year. By the way, I don't know what we did wrong. What is your sales process? What does that look like? How does your phone conversation sound like? Are you using words that are negative words that you are turning away your customer? I see this a lot of times. We don't use the words of what our customer is using, right? We don't use those words. And what do I mean by we don't use those words of what my customer is saying? Is a lot of times you may say a word that is an instant turnoff no matter what you are doing. And this is why you never use negative words through your sales process. We don't want to use a negative word because one negative word can turn that thought of their mind into a no right away. Do you use filler words a lot of times? One of my guys in my mentorship program, he does our Marco Polos. And he was like, he bought a business last year and paid way too much for it, but he learned from it. And on all our Marcos and Polos, he was saying and 50 times each time. And so what I said is go back. If you're selling like you're talking to us, this is why you're getting no's. Because if you use filler words of and so and then what happens then is they don't believe that you are confident in your pricing. And if you're not confident, and if you haven't built that confidence and made them feel confident that you are confident, you're not going to close many jobs. You know, I have listened to hundreds of phone calls, and typically I can tell if you're going to close a job or not by listening to your phone calls. And here's why. Here's one phone call that I heard. Hello? Yeah. Do you do Christmas lights? Yeah. That was a big no-no right out of the get-go, right? Because first off, if your energy is down here and their energy is up here, you just pulled their energy down. Our goal is to get them so excited about Christmas lights. We want to be way up here, and if they're here, every time we speak or talk, they're coming up, right? We want them to be excited about Christmas lights. If you're sitting down, stand up, because a sitting down person isn't going to be as exciting as someone that can stand up and move, right? As soon as you get ready to take that phone call, take a deep breath, put a big smile on your face, and let's go, baby. Good morning. This is Jason with ChristmasLights.io. How may I assist you today with making your lights look amazing? Right? These are things that I can bring up my tone that will help them bring up their tone. And so these are all things that we need to do that. Now, I'm going to go back to you here, Omega or Omar, is have you sent a text message today, or when I was talking about this Sunday, have you sent a text message out Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday saying, hey, thank you for this? If you've put out, depending on how many quotes you sent out, hey, I've seen that, we only have 1 or 2 open spots before the end of this season. We would love to get you on our calendar, and your house will look amazing with these Christmas lights. Just let me know, right? Something along those lines are what we are going to send to our customers, because we have to get excited. If we are, as what my grandfather used to call a sourpuss, and we are, hello, yeah, they are not going to close. Like, I always see Daniel, right? Daniel is one that he started from nothing, did 200 or 179,600, a million in 3 years, right? And he's excited. He's nodding his head and he's telling them how awesome they are, how cool they are, everything. That's what selling is. And if you don't know how to sell, maybe we need to learn how to sell better so we can close better. So it is a leads game. It is something that we have to do. And a lot of it is what we need to do to make this happen. The weather sucks in Kansas. Well, it is Kansas. I mean, I don't know what else you expect out of Kansas. But I know people that, like I said, in South Dakota sent me a picture today of, it looked beautiful. It had about this much snow, but it's kind of hard to install Christmas lights when you have that much snow. So at that point, you either are laddering and being very careful, or you ain't putting Christmas lights up. So that's where you kind of are with the Christmas lights. We are still renting out water slides in South Alabama. Well, would you please send some of that warm weather up this way? Because I would love to have some of that warm weather up here. So again, if you need any Christmas lights, go to christmaslights.io. We have, it is running out. We are still at 88% within 3 days. We're at like 32% on day one. We're at like 36% more is day two. And by day three, we are at like 88%. Again, some of the shipments are coming half one day and half the next. This is to do with FedEx and with UPS. There's not a lot that we can control on that for when we're dealing with these good old Christmas lights. Got my stuff today, Jason. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I love this one right here. This one right here is awesome. See, listen, when people take action, this is what happened. Thank you for the tip on texting old customer. It worked. I closed 2 new clients this week and some new leads. Google Gemini has been great for mock-ups. Thank you for the wisdom. Yes, send those quotes out, send those texts out. It will work. And yes, Google Gemini has been kicking butt. You know, with the AI, I've been following the AI for about since it came out. Actually, before 2022, when when ChatGPT first came out, I was actually following it before that. It was called Jasper. Then it went to ChatGPT, and then as it's come up, and so Google has been behind the 8 ball for the last couple years. Like they haven't even been something they've been messing with. But in the last 6 months, Google has been kicking butt and taking names in the AI world. So it's going to be interesting to see what all happens moving forward. I don't know what Barry just sent me. Yeah, Carrie. I had over 860 that went out and got it done for 500 to 600. I'm shocked. My big mistake is definitely not utilizing social media this year. Will not do that again. So Yeti, what are you going to do to make this happen this year? What are you going to do because it's not about using social media just at Christmas lights. It's about using social media all year long. Because if we use it all year long, when we do to go to ask about Christmas lights, people know who we are. And that's why we do want to push this so hard for our Christmas lights. Should have listened to Jason Guyman all season. I'd have twice as much in the bank account. This is somebody sending Barry a message. I should have listened to Jason Guyman. That's me. I would have twice as much in the bank account. That's why I said I was going to get $10 a foot. Everybody called me crazy. I just starting next year, $10 a foot. I think 8 is profitable first year. Anything else is break even or losing money. And this is something that, as this guy was not at my class, Barry was at my class, and Barry is all about premium pricing too. And so it is about being premium pricing. And this guy was at $4 to $6 a foot, right? Because that's where everybody's in my neighborhood is in the $4 to $6 a foot. When we worry about our competitors and we don't worry about ourselves, then that is our biggest problem at the end of the day, right? We have to think about ourselves and we have to grow our business and not worry what our competitors are thinking. Because when we worry about what our competitors are thinking, we're not posting on social media. We're not asking for 5-star reviews. We're not asking for referrals. We're not asking for the things that we need to do. We don't have our Google card. We don't have our Google Tap cards because we think that, oh, no, they ain't going to give me a review. Well, you're right, because if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. You're worried about this guy over here charging $6 a foot that is about to go out of business. And when we worry about our competitors, then that just hurts us in the end. And I push this so hard, and I've had several people messaging me, thanking me for teaching them how to grow a business, because it's really hard to get Christmas light business going when we are at the $8 and when we're at the $6 a foot. And this is something that is important that we need to make sure that we are doing. Overall season, let me see this one here because this looks amazing. Overall, amazing season. 500% growth this year. Have been getting good 5-star reviews. I am super excited with a great team and pushing hard. Wanting to finish strong to grow stronger than next year. That's amazing, Ryan. That is incredible. You should be very proud of yourself that you have done what you've done here. So that is amazing, and that is awesome to see that you are growing and you have taken action. And when you take action, you are getting the results, you're getting your 5-star reviews, and that is a success. That right there is a high five, because that is a success at the end of the day. And we love successes at the end of the day, because that is what we are all about at the end of the day. So great job on that. Stand up, because we're giving everybody a head start when we launch Christmas Lights Throttle next year. You know the guy, what's old Barry have? You know the guy that we've been convincing to raise his prices from $5 and $6 a foot? He finally raised them, and now I was getting 8 to 10 a foot, and I wish I would have done it earlier. You know, I don't want to brag. I don't. The problem with this industry is a lot of people in this industry sell the product that's teaching. And yes, I sell the product. But I preach the $8 to $12 a foot because I want you successful. I want you to hit $100,000. I want you to hit $500,000. I want you to hit $1 million. because some of the people in this industry all charge this $4 and $6 a foot is because that's what they were taught. They learned from people of large organizations that teach the $6 to $7 a foot, and they've been teaching this for a long time. Originally, they were started at $4 to $6 a foot. When I was in business, they were teaching the $4 to $6 a foot. And here's the thing that's helped me. When I started, I drove all the way up to Chicago, 6 hours away, and I learned from a guy back then that in 2014, he was charging $7 a foot when everybody else was charging $4 and $5 a foot. And this gentleman was charging $7 a foot. And at the time, he was doing about $750,000 out of Chicago. One thing that he taught me was, one, to charge premium pricing, and two, he taught me it's all about the leads. He would literally, he did Home Advisor, he did Andy's List, he did his Google, he did his 5-star reviews, he did everything he could to get leads. Everything, yard signs, the whole 9 yards. People would literally call him 2 and 3 times thinking that it was another business. That's how much he marketed. And that's how he was able to close that much. Now, he did in-person quoting. And we did online quoting because our service area where we're servicing was a little bit larger than where he was at. And we didn't have the manpower. He actually had a roofing company that cleaned roof, then put the roof renew on it. And so that's what he was doing. And so when he had crews, so he was able to go out and sell jobs. We wasn't that big in 2014. We were actually adding Christmas lights so that we could have employees all year long. And yes, the first year of Christmas lights, I did 39 of the 40 installs. There was one install I didn't do, but I did the rest of the 39 installs. That was Jason up on the roof. That was actually, Jason didn't get up on the roof much. That was Jason doing them all off of the ladder. Jason was a little scared of getting up on the roof. This was before the days of pitch hoppers. This was the days before the goat. And so all we had was cougar paws back then. So that is something that we need to do. He messaged me today and says his bank account is a lot fatter. You know, I was talking to a person and he's in a place that they love the cheap. And he's telling me, you know, when I ask people, what do you charge per foot? If you call me, you might as well be ready to tell me your numbers, because if you want me to help you, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you your numbers. I'm going to ask you different things because I want to know where you are thinking. And so when I ask the question, what are you charging per foot? And you tell me from $6 to $8 a foot, that tells me that you're charging $6 a foot, if you're lucky. I've been doing this business long enough. I have learned, I have seen people, I know these pages, I know the Facebook groups. Everybody loves to lie, but if you watch and listen to enough times, you will catch them in their lies. I see it over and over and over, right? If you tell me you're this great company and I go look you up and you have 3 5-star reviews, I'm kind of questioning it, right? I'm not saying that you can't be there, but I'm a little bit questioning what that looks like. And so these are all things that right, he said that his bank account was fatter. So it's amazing how you can, and here's the thing, he had done no training. So people don't come to my training because they want to save money, right? They don't come to here, they don't come to my training, it's $1,000. because I know better and I am going to save money. Did he really save money by charging $5 to $6 a foot because he didn't come here and learn how to do marketing? How many thousands of dollars did he lose? And this was his second year. Think about that. Because when we're at the $6 a foot and we go to $8 a foot, that's literally $2 a foot. That is pure profit. Because otherwise, your profit is probably less than $1 a foot at the end of the day. Time you pay materials, your gas, your insurance, your marketing, your employees, workers' comp, payroll tax, all that awesome things that go along with running a legit company. If you're only charging $6 a foot, then you literally don't have no profit because your profit is all eaten up by your expenses. And so when you go to that $8 a foot, your bank account gets fatter because you're doing less jobs, means you need less materials, means that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I told him all in his head. He's got to believe it and then achieve it because people will pay it, but he has to believe it that he can get it. If you don't believe that you can get $8 a foot, there ain't no way in hell you'll get $8 a foot. If you don't believe that you can get $10 a foot, there's no way in hell you're going to get $10 a foot. If you don't believe that you can get $16 a foot, there's no way in hell you're going to get $16 a foot. You know, I've seen people in all the groups, and there's a particular one that I've got in my mind that he just can't grow his business because he's at $7 a foot in a very well area. That I know people that are in that same area and are absolutely killing it and getting $12, $14, $16 a foot. I know another guy. I got another guy in my mind that he sits out there and complains that all these cheap guys are ruining the business, Jason. He's $6 a foot. He is the cheap guy. There's guys in his area getting $15, $16 a foot, doing a quarter of the work and making a whole lot more money than the guy at $6 a foot. If you don't believe that in your area that you can't get it, you're 100% right. You know, I was riding around one day with some friends and they said, these people in this area are cheap. Guess what? You just told yourself that the people in your area are cheap. And guess what? Cheap people you can't get no more than $6, $7 a foot because that's what you believe. You got to go find the people that will pay the $8 and $10 a foot. They're out there. I promise you they're out there. You just got to go find them. And then it's amazing what happens. You do less work and make more money. And that's what I'm trying to get at, guys. I am trying to help you think different. You know, I sell Christmas lights. Am I the cheapest? Nope. Do I have the best customer service out there? Absolutely I do. I promise you I do. Will I get back with you? Will I check your orders? Will I do everything for you? Will I drive across the country for you? And the answer is yes, I will. Yes, you can buy equipment cheaper somewhere else. Are they going to take care of you when you got a problem? Are they going to short you and you don't even check and now you've got short product? That's what cheap people do because it's about being cheap, right? So do you want to be cheap or are you the premium pricing? Are you charging to be the premium person? Because you know what? I can go above and beyond when you buy from me, and I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to help you. And when you call me with any question, I'm going to answer that question for you, because that's what I do. I go above and beyond for my customers. And if you're not my customer and you call me 3 or 4 times, I quit answering your phone call. Because I look at it this way: if you want to be cheap and buy cheap, then go listen to the cheap people. I want people around me that are premium pricing, because I want, when you're premium pricing, you will grow your business. You will get to 6 figures. You will get to 7 figures. Now, is it easy? Nope, it's not easy. But is it a lot better than being cheap? And the answer is absolutely. You know, the guy that Barry's talking about is in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, Tennessee line, somewhere down in that way. And, you know, when Barry was up here, I was on the phone with him. And I'm like, why ain't you charging that? Well, I didn't think I could get that down here. Well, you're right. You can't get, you thinking you're right. You're right. You ain't going to get it. You know, I had my call and someone said, I ordered from you and I ordered from your competitor, and I paid the extra shipping because they were cheaper, and I want it next day. Guess what? They didn't even look to see his order until that night of the next day, and didn't charge him until 6 o'clock that next night. He didn't get it the next day. He got my stuff the next day. You know why? Because we have the best shipping out there. If you order today, there is a guy in the shop that will get it out for you. That's what it's all about. I want you to be the same way. I don't want you to be booked out 2-3 weeks in Christmas light business. It's one thing to be in October, but when we get in November and we're into this week's here, I don't want you to, if you're booked out 2 weeks right now, you might as well turn off all your marketing, because that puts us in December 10th, and nobody wants their lights up in December 10th, right? Nobody wants their lights up in December 10th. They want them up now. Like, you're going to get phone calls of, I want them up Friday. And you're like, yes, ma'am. I have a spot for you. I have a spot on Saturday. I have a spot on Sunday. That's what we're talking about. That's what separates you. That's what makes you different than your other people. Yes. I keep all numbers and follow-ups. I send texts and calls every day until they say no. Also send them photos of the houses we've done. That's why I was wondering what I was doing wrong. So when they tell you no, we still send them a text, right? That's why I told you to send a text this week to everybody that you sent out. I would say, look at your sales process. What does your website look like? Does it look like premium, or does it not look premium? You know, does it have a beautiful house on it? Or is it just a one house with one string of lights across it? What does those pictures look like? Because that's the difference. How are you sending out the quotes? Are you on Jobber, christmaslights.io/Jobber? Are you on the $29 plan, or are you on the $400 plan? Because there's a difference, right? The $100 plan, you can't put the photos of what the house is. You can't make it where they can check and uncheck the things. Yes, you saved $300, but you lost thousands of dollars, because if you can't check what items they want, then that's the problem. But yes, you pay the $400. Now they can check and uncheck what they want. And now you can have it where they can choose what they want and what they don't want. And this is why christmaslights.io/Jobber, if you want to try a Jobber, this is why it's important that we use a tool that gives us the best thing for us. You know, there's a lot of mock-ups. You can do free mock-ups. But sometimes the free mock-ups of, yes, Jim and I can do amazing, but sometimes it looks too good, right? It doesn't look as good as what it should look like. So these are some things to think about And that's why I'm telling you, what is your sales process? Do you have an accent? You know, Daniel has an accent and it works really well for him. He speaks great English and people love his accent. Some people can have an accent and it will help them. And some people have an accent and you can't understand what they're saying. I'm thinking of a guy now that came to one of my classes, and every time I talk to him, I'm like, slow down. Because when you're speaking to me, I have to listen really hard and process what you're speaking because his accent's so harsh and it's hard for me to understand what he's saying. And so he has to slow down because if I can't understand him and I know everything about Christmas lights, the person that has no clue about Christmas lights, how are they going to understand a word that he is saying? So that's why it's so important of accents can help us and accents can also hurt us. And so sometimes we need to either slow down or we need to make sure that they can understand us in everything that we're doing. Thank you for the advice of what's this here now? Thank you for the advice not to book out week of Thanksgiving. Close our biggest jobs this week. That's what I'm talking about. You want, this is when you close out. I seen somebody close a job this week that was a $20,000 job this week because this is our money week. And if you would have been booked out this week and next week, you wouldn't have got those big jobs. Because the amazing thing about those big jobs are they come back next year too. And we would have lost that by doing it that way. So that's the importance of doing that and having this week open, but making sure that we are still doing our marketing so we can get those big jobs closed. Can you tell us what you would do if you started literally on Sunday and live in a town of rich old people, how to close faster? Well, if I had to start Sunday and I only had a couple weeks left, I would be doing everything I could to be on social media. I would be posting in all the groups. I would go to some of the admins and be like, hey, if I get your lights up today, will you post 3 times this week and show how amazing this house is? Now, when we do a house and we do a free giveaway house, we don't do it crappy. We go all out. We do the ridges, we do the house, we do the columns, we do the ground stake lighting, we do the bushes, we do everything. Everything is what we do, right? We make it look amazing. Daniel just did a house and he got like 16 or 18 calls off of one house, but he did everything. It had these huge columns. He did ground lighting. He did everything. And it looked freaking amazing because here's the thing. One, they're going to post it in the group, and I want to make sure it's in a group that's a good group, either a neighborhood group that is, I know in my neighborhood, or a mom's group. Mom's groups are actually your money groups. Those are the groups that you will make more money out of is the mom's groups. So mom's groups are your money groups. Those are where you want to be at. You want to be in the mom groups. The mom groups are your money groups. If you can't get into mom groups, get your wife or girlfriend into mom groups. And that's how you can do that. You can do free installs to your mom groups. And so this is what I would do to get me started now, to get me some jobs so that I can close some money. Because even if you start now, yes, you might only do 5 jobs this year, but that will help you so much next year because you will already have 5 jobs under your belt that will help you figure out what you need to do to keep this moving forward. Can't wait for a well-earned day off tomorrow to spend time with the boys and family. Then it's pedal to the metal on Friday. God bless y'all. And he's about half sick right now, so that makes it even worse. I just ordered my first starter pack today. Does the price per foot include materials? Thanks for all of your information and guidance. It does. That includes materials. That includes everything. Back in the old days, back in the old days, Paul came to one of my trainings. We were literally outside under this little patio thing for the weekend because that's where we had set up our training at. And it was pouring down rain for most of the weekend. And it was not very fun for that. Paul Gardner, true, they need to deliver value and sell Christmas joy. Deliver on time every time. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on, I missed some stuff. What's the best way to do garage doors and windows? Hot glue, eye hooks, PVC pipe. Just started upselling this and clients are interested in it. So here's what I will say to that. I'm not a big fan of it because if you're just starting out, I feel like there's a lot more money to be made in other things. You can do ground stake lighting, you can do wreath, you can do bushes, and you can do a lot. Now, there does come a point that if you want to do it, make sure that you are charging premium for it. And so you can do hot glue. I really don't like doing hot glue because when you go to you may have callbacks. And then when you go back for callbacks, you got to go back and fix the windows that are falling off. And they do fall off. Or you can do the PVC pipe. I actually just did an install this past week with the PVC pipe and it looks amazing. I actually haven't gotten pictures of it yet, but I will. And so it does look amazing with the PVC pipe. And then the good thing about the PVC pipe is then you don't have to worry about damaging their stuff. Especially do not put glue on stucco because you will pull the stucco off. And so that is something that you don't want to do. And even the eye hooks, where you're going to put these eye hooks, where you're going to mount these eye hooks, these are all things that you have to think about, that we don't screw up this customer's house. The true area that is truly cheap is the real estate between your ears. The 6 inches between your ears is what he's talking about, if you didn't know that. It is in their heads, and it is in their heads. It becomes their action, and then their beliefs, and then their reality. So, talking about this book here, Think and Grow Rich. We were talking about imagination today. And so in this book, he's always talking about the conscious, the subconscious, and the body. And basically, the conscious is up in, if you take a circle, you have the conscious and the subconscious. And so the conscious is the things that you feel, touch, all of these things. And it's your positive or negative thoughts that come through your conscious. And then your subconscious is basically what you feel and what you do and the actions that you get from that and through the body, then out through action. So let's say that you have a thought in your head that I can't get $6 a foot. Then your subconscious, which is going to be your feelings, are going to be like, yep, you're right. You can't get $6 a foot. I told you so. I knew it. You couldn't do it, right? So then that becomes through the body of our actions of only charging $6 a foot, $5 a foot, because that's what we feel like, right? But if our positive side of the conscious comes through and says, you can get $8 a foot, because the words that we speak and the words that we hear are so important. And you are the hardest on yourself, right? Your words are the most important to you. And here's the thing about words and speaking. When we speak words, your brain doesn't know if it's about talking about someone else or you. And that's why you shouldn't be saying you're an idiot. Because when you say that, your brain doesn't know if it's talking about you are an idiot or that person's an idiot. And so this is why it is so important that we make sure that we are speaking to ourselves, that we are telling ourselves, so that way we feel at ourselves that we are made to make $10 a foot. And when you do that, you will come out so far ahead in the end. And here's the other thing. In the book, in the very first 2 or 3 chapters, it gives you 6 steps that you should do. And one of it is what do you desire? Write it down. And basically, we're going to use auto suggestion, but we're not going to use auto suggestion. We're going to use self-suggestion. So every morning, we're going to write down what we wrote on this paper of that you are an intelligent person, you are great, you are a healthy person, and then what you want. Right? And so that way, as you speak to yourself and you tell yourself in the morning and at night, you will start believing it. And when you do believe it, and when you put feeling into it, and when you put emotion into it, your body will start doing the things that you need to do to be able to do this, right? Imagination. It talks about Thomas Edison, right? Everyone knew back in the day that if you touched 2 wires together, that it would glow red and it would make light, but then it would burn. Everybody knew that. Everybody also knew that if you take away the oxygen, it wouldn't burn. And so we knew these 2 things back there when Thomas Edison did this. And so he figured out how to take the 2 things that he knew, put it into one, and that's how he did his light bulb. Now, did it happen his very first time? And the answer is no, right? He failed over 1,000 times. 1,000 times he failed, right? And so this is why this book is so important for you to start thinking different and believing different, not believing because some yin yang over here tells you that they're charging $6 a foot because you got a quote from them and that's what they're charging. And that's okay. You just let them poor little people over there charge the $6 a foot, right? This is what happens and this is what it is, right? And as Paul Gardner says, this here is the bigger issue of it, right? It is the bigger issue of it. And it's important that we think bigger. I think the bigger issue is most people don't believe or don't deliver the value and quality to demand $8 a foot. And I don't even know if it's that. I believe that they don't believe they can get the $8 to $10 a foot. And when you don't believe it, it ain't going to happen. Is it okay to wrap columns with bushes and C9s? I've heard this question about 5 times over this past week of wrapping columns with C9s. I think if they're large columns, I think they would look okay. I don't know what it's going to look like on the smaller column. So I'm not real sure. Actually, I might try it over here on my column tomorrow just to kind of see what it looks like. Barry Little, Jason Guyman, big time in the house. How you doing, George? George Yost. How can you do Christmas lights and pressure washing in the South since it's our time for pressure washing? That's the beauty of it because a lot of people aren't doing Christmas lights. So like my good friend Jason Hefner, he kind of switches over to more Christmas lights in this season because it is way more profitable than the pressure washing. And he kind of does both, but he really goes all in on the Christmas lights because it is way more profitable. Want to start it next year? Gino, one more thing I want to say. I want to start Christmas lights next year because talk to a Christmas light installer in my area, and he's at $22 a foot that does mansions down in Port Royal. So again, that's right. You go where the rich people are and you make money. That's the important part of it. I will have classes next year. I'm going to have a landscape lighting class coming up. I'm going to have a pressure washing classes coming up in the spring. Someone posted here that I met as a Christmas light install, probably down in San Antonio. I love traveling, and so that will be fun. Pat Riley, listen to this man, right? Pat Riley has been killing it. He has been taking action. He has been, answering his phone, growing his business. He went all in. One thing that I will say here is what you water grows, right? What you water grows. And I know a lot of people that try to do a lot of things and be jack of all trades and master of none. And the people that focus will grow the fastest. If you focus on Christmas lights, you can get to 6-7 figures if you focus on it. If you try to do pressure washing, Christmas lights, all the different things, it's probably going to take you longer. And here's the reason why. If you're doing Christmas lights 12 months out of the year, that means when January comes, we're not just like, yep, I'm done with Christmas lights. I ain't got to do no more. I got to go get my pressure washing ready. Because when January, February, March, April, May, June, and July, when we think that we're not doing nothing, that's when we are building our relationships with maybe city tourism, maybe with the right people to go after these large commercial jobs, figuring out these large commercial jobs, learning how to use LinkedIn, learning how to call people and ask people and get jobs booked. And these are all things that we can do to be able to grow this. So in the wintertime, we can keep this going and we can keep it moving forward. And so this is something that as we are looking forward to the next year, one thing I would say, and I said this in the beginning, is start writing down what's been some of your bottlenecks. What have you struggled with this year? Is it lead gen? Is it how to close the leads? Is it getting the jobs done? Are you getting a lot of callbacks? Why are you getting the callbacks? Are they all the same callbacks? Are they the same people installing giving you the same callbacks, right? Can you define what it is? And these are important because it's not that we want to deal with them right now, but we do want to write them down so that way in the off season, we can start thinking about what do I need to do to answer the phone? What do I need to do to get quotes out in 20 minutes? What do I need to do my follow-up? What do I need to do my installs faster? How do I train my employees so that they're doing all the same thing the same way? Because if you got Johnny over here doing it one way and Billy Bob over here doing it another way, it's going to get real confusing for each one because each one's doing something different. Especially if Billy Bob's got to go look at Johnny's job and figure out why is it not working. And if we do everything the same, it makes life a lot easier in the end. Pray for rain, but don't neglect to water your seeds, right? And it is true, and that's one thing else I will say too this year. We have gotten a lot of rain this year. And when you get a lot of rain, it's not a lot of fun because we're putting out electric, and electric and water don't mix very well together. And so it is something that you have to start thinking about. And when you're trying to get everything up off the ground, you're trying to keep everything from not getting shorted out because you got all this rain. And so, you might have an installer that's not putting the female end underneath the clip. They might just be throwing it in the gutter, right? So that's something that we need to train to make sure that they're all doing the lights the same, so we're not getting callbacks at certain jobs versus others. So these are little things that we need to start looking at and start thinking about where do we need to be at for this? What do we need to do? So again, if you need Christmas lights, christmaslights.io. We have plenty in stock still. We're still 2 to 3 days of shipping. Don't forget, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so nobody's shipping tomorrow. After that, we are on Friday, and Black Friday is the busiest shipping day of the year because everybody's sitting on their phones at Thanksgiving and ordering stuff on Thanksgiving. And so Black Friday is one of the busiest shipping days of the year. And so that is going to, could affect us in our shipping. So if you need anything, make sure you get it ordered. You know, again, we do ship out the same day. So we try to do everything we can in our power to make sure that you are getting your supplies. Again, this year we've had several people, and even myself, I've got 2 half portion of Invisalights permanent light jobs that I've got half the shipment. I've got the track, I don't have the control box, I don't have any of that stuff for it. So I have half of it, but I don't have the other half. So again, with the side of these controllers, you know, I know people have been saying, well, Jason, I've only got 3 out of 5 boxes. And don't just look at your stuff on the site. Go take your tracking number and put it into FedEx or UPS, and that will tell you that, yep, you only got half your order, or if you did get all your order and maybe it didn't, you know, maybe something got screwed up. So it is something that we have had very, our guys at the place of shipping, they do very well. They count it 2 or 3 times. I haven't had but maybe 1 or 2 issues this whole year of people getting the wrong stuff. Everybody has been getting the right stuff. And it is a process that they make sure, and they count like 3 times before it goes out to make sure that you get what you order. Again, when you're looking at this, make sure that you are ordering the right stuff. Make sure you're double checking to make sure that you're getting all of the right stuff. How do you prevent issues when doing ground lighting? It's a great question. Move them off of the driveway about 6 inches to 12 inches. Back them off. Don't put them right down the line, because otherwise they're like a bowling ball that goes right down the pins, and they just run them over, and then that's a callback. Set them back is a big thing. Like I say, set them back, 6 inches, 12 inches, so that way they're far enough back off of the driveway. Especially if you live in an area with snow, I would even be 12 inches to 15 inches back. Because if they go in and plow it, sometimes they plow them over or plow snow on it. And so those are things that I would do very much so, of making sure that they're back off of the driveway. Also, make sure that the ends are not laying down in the ground, and make sure that if you have males and females, make sure they're not on the ground, because that way, with all this rain that we're getting and the water comes up off the ground, now that shorts them out, and that gets us our problems. Try not to put them in real heavy trafficked area, foot traffic, because I still never forget, we had 2 trees, and I had an extension cord running from one tree to the other, and the UPS guy would run up through the trees right there, and he caught it with his foot, unplugged the lights, and now the lights aren't working. So when I went back up around, I tied it around the tree, both of them, and it was a tripwire, and that's what it is. I meant the lines running on the ground with snow. Typically, snow doesn't bother us. I'd much rather have snow than rain. Snow, you will have very little issues at all. You won't have any issues with snow. You will have way more issues with rain. Snow with ground stake lighting looks awesome because they look like little snow globes. So that's why I like the ground stake lighting when it snows, because then it looks pretty cool with the ground stake lighting. So that's the thing that I like for it. So again, I'm not too worried about snow I'm more worried about the rain is going to be your issue for ground stake lighting. They will freeze in the ground, and if you use the clip that has this on it, it will break them off. That's why I like the best clip. The best clip actually pops in there. I know this is a roof ridge, but it pops in there. So when you pull up on them, you're actually pulling up on the plastic and you're not pulling up on the little ear. Because when you do it here and you pull up on the ear, they break off. And so with the best clip, the best ground stay, it holds it in there when you put your bulb in there. So then that way, when you go to pull them up, even if they're frozen in there, it's not going to break that plastic, right? We're not pulling on, we're just pulling up, and it will pull up on the wire, and that's how those work great. So that's how those work. But other than that, have an amazing Thanksgiving. Don't just be thankful on Thanksgiving. Be thankful every day. Be thankful that you wake up. Be thankful. Just remember, you can't worry about things in the future. You can't do nothing about it. And things in the past are already in the past. So quit worrying about those things too. The only thing you can worry about, or the only thing that you can do and change, is today. You're not guaranteed tomorrow, so do what you need to do today. So what you need to do today is go be great. And with that, go take action and go do what you need to do. Make the phone ring and go be amazing. And with that, have an amazing week, and we'll see you all on Sunday.